Welcome to For the Greater Good, a podcast brought to you by the Independent Grocers Alliance. And now your host, John Ross.
Well, hello, IGA family, and welcome to another episode of For the Greater Good. This is my podcast/webcast designed to talk about the issue of sustainability. And really, how do we as retailers and manufacturers and brands and wholesalers and suppliers, how do we work together to make the world a better place? And my guest today is Fisk Johnson. Fisk is the Chairman and CEO of SC Johnson and one of my fellow board members at the Consumer Goods Forum. Fisk, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for including me.
Well, this is a cool show. My audience keeps growing and growing and growing. We've got watchers from all over the world, or listeners, I guess, from all over the world. You know, IGA has 6,500 stores globally and growing. Our audience now has seeped into some of the most remote corners of the globe. We've got people from Japan and China and Australia and Africa all watching. And it's really cool to see that there's a lot of interest in something that's near and dear to my heart, which is, seeing if we can't do a better job of leaving a better place for our kids. So first off, I thought you might have a really easy layup question. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, both your role there at the company and maybe something personal that the audience wouldn't know?
Sure. Well, most importantly, I'm a father. I've got one daughter who just graduated from college. I'm a scientist by education. I was a little bit of a professional student for a while. I did 5 university degrees. Did my undergrad in chemistry and physics. I did an engineering degree, my MS and PhD in physics, focusing in on atomic physics, mathematical physics. I also did my MBA. So I was in graduate school for 10 years, much to the bit of a complaint by my father, but I finally got out, joined our family business. I think people would say I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I'm a pilot. I started flying when I was 16 years old. I've flown gliders, seaplanes, twin engine, instrument rated, jet rated pilot. And I'm a diver. I love to dive. I've been diving all over the world. And I think maybe what's relevant for our discussion today, one of the interesting things I've done over the last several years is I've tested for microplastic in the ocean all over the world, from the Arctic to the Strait of Magellan to actually the Sahara Desert. And over 50 years of diving, I've seen the health of our ocean ecosystems deteriorate, and the quantity of microplastic in the water, pieces of plastic that you can't see with the naked eye, is unbelievable. A couple thousand particles per cubic meter of water wherever I tested. It's just pervasive in the environment, and it's a little scary.
Well, I'm a diver, a scuba diver as well. It's the one sport that I can still do with my son and keep up. Well, he's much better at it than I am, but it was something we do together. And like you, I have seen these amazing, pristine, incredible habitats slowly erode. And it's nothing more demoralizing than getting in the water and seeing the detritus of our modern society littered all over what should be a perfect place. I mean, SC Johnson, you supply a lot of products, and you supply a lot of products in plastic. So I know that we're going to end up talking about this. But before we get to those specific things, you also sit on the board of the Consumer Goods Forum, which is a collection of industry leaders who get together literally to work on issues like this. I thought maybe you would talk about your role there and maybe a couple of the committees or the areas that you lead.
Yeah, I've been on the Consumer Goods Forum board actually since its inception. So I've been on for quite a while. And one of the things that's great about the Consumer Goods Forum is it brings together retailers and manufacturers in one forum to talk about and take action on issues on a pre-competitive basis, where it really takes collective action by all of us to really make substantial progress. And one of the coalitions of action that I sit on, probably the most important one, it's most relevant to our company, is the Plastic Waste Coalition of Action. And what I would say about it is, we have a lot of sustainability initiatives as a company, from carbon to greener chemistry to transparency to social issues. But plastic waste is one of those things where it's hard to go it alone as a company. We've made a lot of great progress on carbon, on greener chemistry, and a lot of issues, just acting alone as a company. But we've been working on the plastic waste issue for a long, long time. Believe it or not, the first recycled bottle that we launched was in 1987. So many years ago. We launched a concentrate for our trigger cleaner products 12, 13 years ago. And it didn't do very well. Plastic waste has just not been very top of mind for consumers. And, even though it's a simple action to refill a trigger bottle and reuse it 100 times, unless consumers are aware and think about the issue, they're not going to buy the product. And that's just kind of one illustration of where this is an issue where it really takes all stakeholders coming together collectively to solve the issue. It takes government regulation, it takes business retailers working together, it takes scale in municipal recycling systems to get the economies of scale that we need to really make progress. And it's just one of those really important issues where everybody has to come together. And the Consumer Goods Forum is a fantastic venue to help make that happen.
Well, on plastic waste in particular, this is one that's near and dear to my heart, because the issue is so intensely local. Of course, IGA, yes. We've got now we're over 1,600 stores in the U.S. now. Each of those stores, each store owner is a leader in their community, and they have a lot more influence and power over how those communities behave than perhaps even we realize. Many of them are mayors of their towns, or they sit on their city council, and certainly local politicians know that if the grocer's on your side, it's a way to win an election. So we got a lot of clout. We really have a lot of clout. And if you were to go around the United States, just take the United States. I'm not talking about Australia or China or Poland or something, but just take the U.S. And you were to go around and say, how easy is it to get a recyclable product? You've made all this effort to make the product recyclable. How is it to actually get it into a recycling program? And you will find that legislation, the rules, the availability of recycling plants, it is all over the board, just in our own country, just in the U.S. And if we really want to make a difference here, right, the retailer has to say, no, it's not good enough. Our local community's got to be able to take this product, and we got to treat it responsibly. And hey, you manufacturer, you got to make sure that you're supplying this product that can go through that cycle. But if we work together, think about how much progress we can make.
I couldn't agree more. And I think there's a lot of great things that your grocers can do to help make progress on this issue, whether it's, listing more sustainable options when it comes to plastic, whether it's educating your shoppers in store, whether it's putting a collection for plastic film out in the front of your store. And, whether or not you collect that much plastic, I think it's a good indicator of, what your grocers are all about if you do those visible things from a sustainability standpoint. And I think that attracts people, especially today, as the younger shoppers want more sustainably minded products.
Well, that's certainly true. And you could imagine that as our demographics change, as our core shopper ages out and a new younger shopper ages in to be our core shopper, that these values will be more important to them. But one of the things that I'd ask you to talk about this, many of the people who will be on the show will be heads of public companies. That makes this conversation unique. But a lot of those companies, a critic could stand back and go, "Oh, you're just pandering to some special interest groups, or this isn't really about business and growing." Many years ago, when I worked for Home Depot, we created a compact fluorescent light bulb recycling program in the stores. And what we found with that program is the repeat shopper visits went up. it's just like it was great business because suddenly we were a more convenient place for them to bring the bulbs back. Our light bulb sales went up, and it all worked beautifully because the economics of it worked. I'd be curious as to how you and your company and your board of directors think about this issue.
Yeah, so we're a family company. We're still private. If you know our slogan, we say we're a family company at work for a better world, and that is our singular purpose as a company. Everything we do is in support of that purpose, whether it's creating a great place to work here, whether it's what we do for our communities, whether it's our products in terms of our environmental responsibility and our environmental leadership on our products, our social leadership, all of those things flow into that purpose. And I think it's both the right thing to do and it's good business too. And I think we are at an inflection point in our society where people are thinking about sustainability issues more and more, are willing to make that part of their purchase decision, those kinds of factors. And I do think that sometimes costs and doing good collide, and I think the intellectual and practical challenge for all of us as leaders is to navigate through that and to do our best to find the most efficient, cost-efficient solutions to make great progress on sustainability issues. And plastic, I come back to that because it's one of the things that I'm really passionate about, but it really takes collective action. I just came back from Washington yesterday where I was meeting with politicians on the Hill to advocate for greater plastic regulation, which I think we need to make progress. But I think there's all sorts of things that shoppers, that municipal recycling facilities, that companies can do to create more sustainable options for products to really make headway on this issue.
This guy was in a retailer's office not too long ago, and this issue came up, and he was saying things like, I'll sell more if it sells, which is a fair thing to say, right? If the shoppers want it, I really want it. And behind his shoulder on the wall were pictures from his grandchildren. And one of the pictures was a sea turtle with a plastic, container wrapped around its neck.
Yeah.
And presumably his grandchild rescuing the sea turtle. And I went, well, look over your shoulder, because that's our incoming target, and they're going to hold us accountable for how we manage our world in a way that maybe we didn't when we were in our generation. The other thing that encourages me is at a company like yours, the people in your research and your design and your engineering departments, these are brilliant folks, and they're creating amazing things. And I'll ask you to maybe talk about a couple of them that you're proud of. But my enthusiasm, my optimism says that the same skills that allow our industry to create amazing high quality products and sell it all at the end of the day for a 2% net margin, which was a good day in my world, right? And be able to supply it to stores literally all over the world, the most remote places in the world can still get fresh produce every day. If that genius that made that work just tilts just a little bit, there's no reason why we can't solve these problems together.
I totally agree with that. And just to talk about some of the really interesting things that we've been working on, and I could list, 50 of them. Take our Ziploc brand in this country here. We've tried to do our best to create a number of more sustainable options for that brand. We now have a highly reusable version under Ziploc and durables. We have a paper version. We have a compostable version. All in an effort to provide those more sustainable options that allow people to reuse, to reduce, and to recycle our products. Our Windex product, if you look at it on the shelf today, that bottle is made from plastic that we've collected that's on the coast in Southeast Asia, that is ocean bound, that It not only has a social benefit because the people that pick up this plastic can more than double their income through our system, but it helps prevent plastic from going into the ocean. I think to date we've saved over 500 million equivalent bottles from going into the ocean by reusing that in our Windex product. We just launched a really cool new version of concentrates for our trigger cleaners so that you can reuse that trigger bottle 100 times. We are, I could keep going. We've got a lot of new ideas, new, more sustainable options that we are, trying to, create for your shoppers and others.
So I seem to remember a photo or a video of you in a wetsuit, which is, it's pretty brave right there, I'd say. When I put a wetsuit on, I look more like something that should be harpooned and removed from the ocean. But you floating in the water, and then around you were surrounded by all this floating plastic waste. That business model that you described, this is something you created. You created a business model to create a profitable and manageable mechanic to get that plastic out of that country and into our bottles. Do I understand it right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there is a cost associated with it, but it's a good social cause. It's a good environmental cause. So we do it. And, as I said, I've been a diver for 50 years. I've seen, the plastic waste issue get worse and worse. I've been standing on beaches in Central America where you don't see a grain of sand underneath you because you're standing on garbage. And I mean, it's really sad. 8 million metric tons of plastic flow into the ocean every single year. And, they say by 2050, there's going to be more plastic by weight in the ocean than fish by weight. Just think about that. And it's getting into the food chain. I don't know if you saw that study by the University of Raj in Netherlands where they tested the blood of a number of people and they detected plastic in the blood as 70% of the people that they did the testing on. I mean, that can't be good. I don't think we know today the impact on human health of plastic in the food chain. And it just gives me an incredible sense of urgency to make progress on this issue as a big plastic polluter. We're not a polluter of the oceans. Our products really don't get there because we're more of a developed city kind of operation where they have good collection systems. But it's a terrible state, but I have to say that I'm more optimistic than ever because I think we're at an inflection point right now where everybody's taking notice, retailers, government officials, business, and I think you're going to see a lot of great progress ahead.
So if you heard that thumping sound, inevitably, if I get on a call like this, the people above me start moving furniture around. I do not know why.
That's probably me. Sorry.
No, it's definitely my house. It's definitely happening here. Hey, so the question I ask for the CEOs to come on this show is to imagine that you're at your retirement banquet, right? And someone's making a speech about you, and they're going to say some nice things about what you did. What, in the interest of sustainability, how would you want them to talk about you?
Well, I'll tell you what comes to mind. What comes to mind is something that my father said 25 years ago that has been an incredible influence in my life over the last 25 years. And you got to recognize, we're a family company. I'm the 5th generation leader of our company. And my father had a very difficult relationship with his father. I think his father wasn't around enough. I think his father had great expectations of what he would do in the business. And I think, especially when my grandfather got ill, there were times when I I don't think my grandfather was satisfied with what my father was doing. You know, my father grew the company 100-fold under his leadership. And my father came to the conclusion that it doesn't really matter if we live up to the expectations of our fathers, but whether we as fathers live up to the expectations of our children. And I don't know that I need to be remembered for anything, but I would like to think that, one, that I've lived up to the expectations of my daughter, and that importantly, I've lived up to the expectation of the next generation of everyone's children in terms of what we at SC Johnson have been doing to create a better world across all sorts of different dimensions.
What a spectacular answer. And I guarantee you that there are thousands of family business owners who were nodding vigorously when you were talking about a parent who might have had unrealistic expectations about them and a tough relationship there, and definitely a lot of smiles hearing that we're doing this for our kids. I mean, that's why they show up to work, right? I mean, running a family grocery store is hard. It's hard, and you do it so you can create a better opportunity for your children. Otherwise, you're probably going to do something different. So,
Yes.
Hey, Fisk, it is so cool that you did this. I'm very proud of what the CGF is doing. We're on a tough path, and we set very aggressive goals. But I, like you, I'm optimistic about the future. We'll put links in the show notes for this so that people can get right to the sustainability efforts at SC Johnson, because it's really, really cool stuff. And by the time I'm done with this loop, we'll be coming back with some retailers talking about things that we're going to do, because my true belief is that if we can get the retailers and the manufacturers working together on some of these common goals, man, can we make enormous differences in our world.
Fantastic. And thank you for including me.
Oh, I know. And you know what? Next time we do this, we should be on a boat someplace in the South Pacific.
Well, hey, I would love to go diving with you anytime you'd like. Just let me know. We'll go do it.
That's a promise. That would I think that would improve the readership of this for people interested in sustainability, and also whale hunters maybe. So hey, Fisk, thank you so much, and for all the audience, thank you for continuing to embrace this show and share it. I know a lot of people are passing it around. I'm really encouraged and just amazed at how popular the show has become, and thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you.